Swami Gurugrahi Goswami Maharaj, along with his own spiritual master, His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada, Shishi Gaurnitai. We have two sets of Shishi Gaurnitai. Yes, we need, there's a lot of room here, although there's some cables, but don't sit on a table. There's plenty of room, so please come closer. We need to create as much intimacy or warmth, as much warmth as possible, because we have gathered here for the purpose of and also extending our blessings, our good desires, good wishes to a very dear friend of all of us and devotee, Sharon Mataji, who's here to take her further step in her spiritual development. And it's a very important step. It's an initiation. So those of you who don't know what initiation means, the word itself explains that you're starting, or formally starting your spiritual life, and that will be spoken a little bit more further in depth and detail by His Holiness Swami Maharaj. We'll give a class shortly. But as I said, we're in a very, very auspicious presence here of very amazing representations of divinity. I mentioned two sets of Gaurnitai. There's Krishna Gopal, of Giriraj. These are all different representations of divinity. Of course, you might have more questions about them. We'll gladly describe that to you after the ceremony, because for the purpose of time, we have to continue and move on. So, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Shishi Gaurnitai ki jai. When I say ki, and then you all can say jai, very, very loud. Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Shishi Srila Prabhupada first. Then? Oh, okay. This is the kirtan. Okay, that's the kirtan. So, what was that? Shishi Gaurnitai ki jai. Later. Shishi Krishna Gopal ki jai. Shishi Giriraj Govardhan ki jai. Shishi Krishna Shalagram ki jai. Shishi Prahlad Nrsimhadev ki jai. Very good. Right, so we would like to ask our prospect candidate, Sharon Mataji, to do the purificatory process, which is the done. Okay, so you won't be chanting. You won't be chanting during your class. Okay, all right. So let's do that. So just give us 2 minutes. Time up. Can you assist? All right. So right there next to where Pradanga is. That's your language. Would you require drums there as well, just to check? Okay. All right. So, yeah, leave the Mridanga, just get the drum, the bigger drum. So you can make sure that drum is stable. I think that chair is right on key. Yes? Yeah. Okay. just hang it actually here. Right, so we're moving on. We're going to ask the Mother Sharon to, for the purificatory rite of Achaman. And yes, yes.
There are devotees watching this from different parts of the world, right?
Yeah, trying to.
Especially Argentina. Don't forget about the stand. Just
So there are devotees, especially from Argentina, that are watching this ceremony because Sharon Mataji and a lot of devotees from Argentina, they got to know each other. She'll be going down there, so they also feel a part of this spiritual family. Many of her god brothers and god sisters are watching, so we should give them a warm welcome. Haribo! Haribo! And Prabhu, when you work the camera, if you could be sure that you focus on Mother Sharon also from time to time, a little transcendental variety, and I think that would be very nice. So so that we can all feel like we're together. So thank you.
Hare Krishna. Om Pavitro Va Sarvastam Gatopi Va Yasmaret Pundarikaksham Sabaya Vayantara Suchi. But the pure and impure are having passed through all conditions of material life. If one can remember the lotus-eyed Krishna, he becomes externally and internally clean. So we ask Sharon Mataji, there's an Achaman cup, I believe it's empty, so do you mind for water? The Ganji water to purify, sanctify. Yeah, you can just in a cup. Fill it up halfway. It's done now, so it doesn't spill while we're preparing it. So grab the spoon and with your right hand, with your left hand, and your right hand, it's a spoon. You recognize that?
Yeah.
That's the only thing we have. I'm sorry. I think a few drops is there because it's both spoon and so it should do some function of a spoon. All right, you should. So put it in your right hand and sip it. Om Keshavaya Namaha. But say it before you sip it. Then purify your right hand. Drop it on the ground. One more time. Put it in your hand. Om. You said it. Oh, you know. Om Narayana Namaha. And then purify it again. Very good. And then one more time. It's good. Om Madhavaya Namaha. Very good. And purify it again. Good. Thank you. Now at this point, we can do the garlands now, please. Garland for the first, who has Maharaj, Sharon Mataji, also on garland. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Okay, so now we're at the point of Kantimala Dharma, which is the exchange of tulsi leaves. This is mala or the necklace of tulsi. Okay. Hare Krishna. So, which is the necklace, tulsi necklace here. We're going to exchange the old one for the new one. This is a brand new one offered to Panchatattva. It's been offered there for pretty much most of the day. Sharon will wear that. And remember, it's a very special day. It's a now 3-line exchange. One line of necklace, 3-line that represents her surrender to her Guru and Gauranga with her mind, words, and the body. That's every disciple actually commits in her or his service to Guru and Gauranga, spiritual teacher, spiritual master. Service with the mind, words, and the body. After that, we'll chant some purificatory mantras of Brahma Samhita, spoken by Lord Brahma to Lord Govinda, by the author Srila Vyasadeva. These are the verses 1 to 28, 28 to 62 from the 5th chapter. Those of you who know, they can follow along. I have a couple of more sheets. Maybe Adani Prabhu. This one to Adani Prabhu. Ishvara Parama Krishna Sachitananda Vigraha Anadir Adir Govinda Sarva Karana Karanam Chintamani Prakara Sadma Sukalpa Vriksha Lakshavriteshu Surabhira Vipalayantam Lakshmi Sahasrasata Sambrama Sevyamanam Govindamadi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami Venum Kvanantamaravinda Dalaya Taksham Arhavatam Samasitam Buddha Sundarangam Kandarpakotikam Aniya Vishesha Shobham Govindamadi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami Alola Chandra Kalasadvaranaya Mamshi Ratnagaram Panayakeli Vilavilasam Shyamam Trivangamalitani Ata Prakasham Govindamadi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami Angani Yasya Sakalendriya Vriti Manti Pashyanti Panti Kalayanti Chiram Jaganti Ananda Chinmaya Sadujvala Vigrahasya Govindamadi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami Advaitam Achyutam Anadim Anantarupam Ajam Purana Purusham Navayovanam Cha Vedeshu Durlabam Adurlabam Atma Bhakto Govindamadi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami Govindamadi Purusham tamaham bhajami. Govindamadi purusham tamaham bhajami. Hare Krishna. Now we will hear a lecture from His Holiness Bhagavad Swami.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama,
Hare Krishna.
Rama, Hare Hare.
It's always good to finish. And the other thing I want to say, I always want to say, Unchakapaturi's chapter, can everybody hear okay back there? You okay? Okay.
Everybody here on the back? Yes?
Okay, if you can't hear, come
Come
closer.
closer, yes.
We like it when everybody's close. Family feeling. So, I wanted to take this opportunity to read from the Chaitanya Charitamrita, a very beautiful verse, and purport by Srila Prabhupada. A lot of you don't have the opportunity to read from Srila Prabhupada's books very much, especially the Chaitanya Charitamrita, Madhya Lila. How many of you read the Chaitanya Charitamrita, Madhya Lila? Oh. Okay. So Prabhupada was very anxious to have this volume of literature published. And the devotees were very inspired to follow Prabhupada's lead, and they also became very anxious to publish it. Did a remarkable job bringing this book to print. And by our good fortune, we have the opportunity to be reading it now. This is the story, the life story of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who was Krishna himself, who appeared a little bit over 500 years ago, to inaugurate this chanting of Hare Krishna, this Sankirtan movement, this chanting, this congregational chanting of the holy names, to taste it himself. It's Krishna who came as a devotee to experience the nectar of being a devotee, especially the greatest devotee, Srimati Radharani. He came in her mode. So he was tasting Krishna consciousness, like anything. He came to demonstrate how to be a devotee, and also not just to taste being a devotee, but to distribute it. So he demonstrated not only how to be a devotee, but how to distribute Krishna consciousness, to take the nectar and distribute it. So within the Chaitanya Charitamrita were some beautiful verses, many, many beautiful verses. And I'd like to read one that pertains to what we'll be doing this evening. So this is Madhya Lila. This is Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu instructing Rupa Goswami, another great devotee. Those of you who know this verse, you can repeat it for me. First. Jaya Jaya Shri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda. Advaita Chandra Jaya Gaur Bhakta Vrinda. Jaya Jaya Shri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda Advaita Chandra Jaya Gaur Bhakta Vrinda. Trying to think of the melody of this verse. I'll just say it. Brahmanda Ramite Kona Bhagyavan Jeev Guru Krishna Prasade Bhai Bhakti Lata Beach. What's a nice melody for that? Dhananjali.
Your melody was very nice. Excellent.
There's no traditional melody for that one. Okay, we'll do it again. Brahmanda Ramite Kona Bhagyavan Jeev Guru Krishna Prasade Bhai Bhakti Lata Beach. Listen carefully, and I'll read Srila Prabhupada's purport, because it's very, very beautiful. This is Lord Chaitanya instructing Rupa Goswami. According to their karma, all living entities are wandering throughout the entire universe. Some of them are being elevated to the upper planetary systems, and some are going down into the lower planetary systems. Out of many millions of wandering living entities, one who is very fortunate gets an opportunity to associate with the bona fide spiritual master by the grace of Krishna. By the mercy of both Krishna and the spiritual master, such a person receives the seed of the creeper of devotional service. Srila Prabhupada explains. When we speak of Brahmanda, that's the first word in that verse, Brahmanda Brahmite. When we speak of Brahmanda, we refer to the whole universe, or to the cluster of many millions of universes. In all the universes, there are innumerable planets, and there are innumerable living entities upon those planets, in the air, on land, and in the water. There are millions and trillions of living entities everywhere, and they are engaged by Maya in suffering and enjoying the results of their fruitive activity, life after life. Maya refers to the illusory energy. In other words, they're influenced by the illusory energy, and they're experiencing the reactions of their deeds, either by enjoying the reaction or suffering, depending on what the reaction is. Life after life. So they're wandering body to body, planet to planet, universe to universe, eons and eons of years. This is the position of the materially conditioned living entities. Out of many of these living entities, one who is actually fortunate, Bhagyavan, comes in contact with a bona fide spiritual master by Krishna's mercy. Krishna is situated in everyone's heart, and if one desires something, Krishna fulfills one's desire. If a living entity by chance or fortune comes in contact with the Krishna consciousness movement and wishes to associate with that movement, Krishna, who is situated in everyone's heart, gives him the chance to meet a bona fide spiritual master. This is called Guru Krishna Prasad. Krishna is prepared to bestow his mercy upon all living entities. And as soon as a living entity desires the Lord's mercy, the Lord immediately gives him an opportunity to meet a bona fide the spiritual master. Such a fortunate person is fortified by both Krishna and the spiritual master. He is helped from within by Krishna and from without by the spiritual master. Both are prepared to help the sincere living being become free from material bondage. How one can become this fortunate can be seen in the life of Srila Narada Muni. Prabhupada explains a little bit about how he associated with great souls and got the mercy of Krishna because of that. Following the footsteps of Narada Muni, this Krishna consciousness movement is rendering service to humanity by giving everyone a chance to come in contact with Krishna. If one is fortunate, he becomes intimately related with this movement. And by the grace of Krishna, one's life becomes successful. Everyone has dormant Krishna bhakti, love for Krishna. And in the association of good devotees, that love is revealed. As stated in the Chaitanya Charitamrita, Madhya 22:107, Nitya Siddha Krishna Prema Sadhya Kalunoi, Shravanari Sudachite Koraye Uno. Dormant devotional service to Krishna is within everyone. Simply by associating with devotees, hearing their good instructions, and chanting the Hare Krishna mantra, dormant love for Krishna is awakened. In this way, one acquires the seed of devotional service. Guru Krishna Prasade Bhai Bhakti Lakhanich. Hare Krishna. So Srila Prabhupada is elaborating here on the situation that sooner or later we're all presented with. Depending on our desire, of course Prabhupada says here, as soon as one desires to come in contact with a bona fide spiritual master, make advancement in spiritual life, immediately Krishna sends. Immediately in terms of eternal time isn't quite as like that. But it happens. It happens. Very, very quick, Krishna makes an arrangement. All based on our sincerity to advance in spiritual life. Just like if we have a desire to advance in material life, Krishna reciprocates with that also. He says, Smritir Jnana Deep as remembrance, knowledge, forgetfulness. Everything's coming from Krishna. Our abilities, the situations that are given to us. That's all an arrangement. It's not by some impersonal, mechanical chance that things are going on. Krishna, the divine entity, is controlling. And that's called karma. For example, an astrologer will explain to you what your karma is. But this isn't happening by the laws of chance. There's a divine plan. We can see, to some degree, what that divine plan is. In the Great Soul, we can see it very easily. So it's all being arranged by the Supreme Personality. So when Krishna sees that we have a sincere desire to make advancement, he makes the arrangement. Krishna is responding to our hearts, his heart. It's reciprocated. And everyone who has joined this movement, who has taken shelter of Srila Prabhupada, who is the spiritual master, has his or her own story of how this transpired and one got the mercy. The word used here is Bhagavan, it means by great fortune. Because after wandering in this material world for eons and eons, we reach the point where we're frustrated with this material world. We see the dualities, happiness, the stress, the heat, the cold, the victory. We see our attachments. And we feel the pain of being so much dependent on this material world. It's shelter. We come to the realization that there is no lasting shelter. There is no lasting happiness. No matter how much we try to cling to it, no matter how much we try to find the shelter, we know inside it will slip through our fingers if we do happen to find it. So this planet is called Martyr planet of death. One might say, well, that's very pessimistic. I say it's realistic, because that's how it all ends. Old age. Yeah. One time, recently I got a little bit enthused to see what Prabhupada said about pessimistic. Because people say, well, you have a pessimistic view. I say, well, it's realistic. So I looked it up in the database, and I found a quote from Srila Prabhupada. Yes, we do have a pessimistic view. I was wrong. Pessimistic in the sense that it is realistic, and if you just rely on it, there's no hope for happiness. In that sense. That's it. Maybe you can work that out a little bit later. So, that's the nature of the material world. And as we, year after year, life after life, try to experience that happiness and hold on to it, ultimately we have the realization that I have to look beyond this for what I really want. The nature of the soul is Satchitananda, eternity, knowledge, and bliss. That's why we're looking for it. We're looking for something that lasts forever. We're looking for knowledge. We're tired of being bewildered. And we're looking for happiness that doesn't end. Why are we looking for this? This is our nature. It happens. We've lost it. Covered over. We can't find it, materially speaking. So we start looking for spiritual life. When we start looking for real spiritual life, Krishna makes the arrangement. He brings us in contact with a bona fide spiritual master, who brings us in contact with Krishna. Guru Krishna Prasada Beach. And by that contact, one gets the seed of devotional service. In other words, one learns how to approach the Supreme Being by learning how to utilize all of his or her energy in harmony with the Supreme Being, and focusing all that energy, trying to love that Supreme Personality. And within that, trying to love the humanity. That's what part of this. And once we experience that connection, then that eternity, knowledge, and bliss that Satchitananda begins to awaken. We begin to understand what real knowledge is, what real happiness is. The type of happiness that doesn't end as the world keeps changing. So when we to practicing the principles of spiritual life, we experience it, we can get a higher taste. So Ado Shraddha, first we have a little faith. We associate with those who are following Sadhusanga, Bhajana Kriya. We think, well, these people, they're pretty nice, and they're experiencing something from what they're doing, so I'm going to try to do what they do. See what and you start doing it. You start getting some attraction. You become absorbed more and more. Then there's the stage of anartha nivritti. Artha refers to those things of value. Anartha refers to those things that they don't have much value. So you're able to look within yourself and look at this world and see what do I have that is valuable for my advancement, is helpful, and what do I have that's hurting me? Oh no, it's not okay. And you look at the world also. What things within this world, what situations within this world are helpful to my spiritual life, and what things aren't. So, anartha nivritti, nivritti means you start doing away with those things that aren't helpful in spiritual life. Now, that's not easy, right? We have some habits that aren't so easy to give up. And we might know, well, this isn't so good for me. But it's really hard to give these things up. At the same time, by the proper practice of spiritual life, we develop a higher taste. And along with that higher taste, also strength. To utilize our senses, our consciousness, our minds in ways that are spiritually elevated. And you feel the difference with a higher taste. So by the proper practice of spiritual principles, the higher taste comes. And with that, we can give up those things that actually give the lower taste there to that higher taste. If you don't have that higher taste, it's difficult. Because you want to taste something. You want to have some pleasure in this material world. It's our nature. We want to have pleasure. So with that higher taste, then we begin to see, yes, what real pleasure is. We feel it. We're natural when we devote those things. And many people are so much dependent on it for their shelter in life, for their happiness in life. So it's a glorious feeling, being able to experience on a higher level. And then one wants to dedicate oneself more and more to that. And we find that this material world is very difficult to traverse in terms of understanding what to do, what not to do, how to do it, how to benefit ourselves spiritually. And it's not so easy. It's not so easy. To understand what is love. What is love about? To actually have wisdom to be able to make the right choices in life that will help us. So, the function of the spiritual master is to give us transcendental knowledge. That's called jnana. Srila Prabhupada came. He came with his books. He spent night after night, week after week, month after month, year after year, translating sacred texts in India, the Vedic literature, writing all the commentaries based on the commentaries of the great acharyas or spiritual masters, because he wanted to enlighten us with transcendental knowledge so that we could understand the nature of God. Not just that God is great, just like we all know that Hitler was great, very powerful, etc. He was a leader, or any world leader is great, right? So because of that greatness, that power, they're given great respect. Okay? A lot of awe and reverence. But it's not that they're loved just because they have a position. But just to know that God is great might be enough to have us respect God and have some reverence for Him. But what enthuses us, what inspires us to love somebody? We become inspired to love somebody if we can understand their heart. Once we know their heart, once their beauty comes out, their internal beauty comes out, when they express it, when they express themselves in that way, then we develop some love for that person. So when Srila Prabhupada came to enlighten us about God, he didn't just enlighten us about the greatness of God. He enlightened us about the personality of God by giving us all the knowledge in these revealed scriptures and by explaining through his own realization and the realizations of the great acharyas. So by coming to understand the heart of God, the psychology of God, personality, one can easily develop an attraction and want to love God and follow the process by which we can extend ourselves with love and thereby experience that reciprocation. That's what Prabhupada is. So he wanted to call it the International Society for Krishna Consciousness, not just God consciousness. Someone suggested, oh, why not just God? Because Prabhupada wanted to help people understand that God is not, if you look up the word God in the dictionary, Supreme Controller, Creator, etc. God is more than that. He's got a personality. He has eternal, loving relationships with countless living entities. We're included. How does that transpire? How does that explain? Prabhupada wanted to call our society the International Society for Krishna Consciousness. Krishna means the all-attractive one. All knowledge, beauty, fame, strength, renunciation. Wealth. Source of everything. Living beautiful. And that's within his personality. And that's all explained so nicely. So that should be here. So that's jnana. Came to give us the knowledge. And then after jnana is vijnana. That's realization. And then you're actually experiencing. So the knowledge is there, and the process is there to elevate one's consciousness, purify one's consciousness, to be able to experience these spiritual truths being explained theoretically, or understanding theoretically. So that's the process. It's the science of bhakti. Science of bhakti yoga, devotional service. And we have books that explain the higher and higher levels of consciousness and experience. So we're talking about anartha nifriti, getting rid of these unwanted things that are covering our consciousness. We come to realize I'm really helping us spiritually. And one becomes fixed. This thing becomes actually fixed. Just like it's very easy to spontaneously enjoy our senses. Right? Some of the things people free time or on vacation. Okay, make a list. I want to enjoy. That we do spontaneously. No one has to tell us, well, you know, try to have something to eat that you like. Or do all the things that we like. No one has to really try to enthuse us to enjoy ourselves. Materially. And anyway, that's spontaneous. You can do it. So when you're at on the platform of Nishta, it's not quite spontaneous yet, being able to be completely fixed in spiritual life without deviating. Then, as we practice, continue to practice, then we come to the point of ruchi, to get a taste. And it becomes more easy just to become absorbed by it. Easy. Then you come to the point of sakti where it's spontaneous. Spontaneous, you're just natural in that platform. Bhakti, pure devotional service. You're serving everybody, you're serving God, you're always talking about God, relating everything with God. Everything you do is spiritually advantageous for yourself and for everybody else. Then you go to higher and higher levels of spiritual bliss. So this is from the time that seed of devotional services was planted. I'm describing as the watering process, and how that plant and the flower of devotional service just grows. Process. So it's a science, not just something that somebody made up. Well, this is a science, and the yogis for centuries and centuries following the science. So we consider ourselves, those of us who are practicing, consider ourselves so fortunate to have met Srila Prabhupada. Especially, many of us who have come to spiritual life have come because we're suffering. Different reasons people come. Some people are just, they're really intelligent and pure-hearted. They just want to understand more and advance in spiritual life. We have many bad habits. Just want to know about spiritual life. Others are they're just inquisitive, trying to find out what's going on. Others want some money because, worship God. At least I've seen in other churches that they say they worship God and make God. And we've seen this, so for material benefit, I'll engage in this process. Or many people suffer. Just like I say, there are no atheists. In foxholes, everybody says, praying to God. Suffering is very good. So when we're suffering, we have some realization about this material world. Like when you get really sick, and you say, or if you get some disease that's wrong, so when we're suffering, we see things in a different way. We're not suffering with this body. Places to go, people to see, things to do. And there's the other side of the coin. You can't take the heads or have the tails. That's what this body is. So when the suffering comes, it's a very sobering experience. Or when you go to a funeral, it's a sobering experience. So my brother's friends never interested in what I was doing. They went to my father's funeral. And I had the opportunity to speak about my father. And when I was speaking about my father, I was also including certain aspects of our philosophy that were relevant. About the eternality of the soul, karma, being in contact with devotional service, the service that my father did, how he was elevated in various ways. And after the funeral ceremony, all of my brother's friends that were coming up to me and saying, "Do you know what this person life after death?" Because funerals, they're very scary. Because you're not only lamenting about your loved one's death and not really knowing what it is. Many people not knowing what it is or where that person is. But you're thinking about, very often we don't like to think about these things. There's one devotee in San Diego, Turner. He was living in a temple, and then he started living outside the temple to go ahead and get a job. He wasn't really trained very much. Looking for a job. The only job he could get was a salesman. And what was he selling? Graveyard plots. It's not very easy to sell graveyard plots because you have to remind people that they're going to die, that their family is going to die. People don't like to hear that. It's very, very difficult. Very difficult. So, this material world. Sorry, sometimes I go it's hard to get back. We don't like to see the material world as it actually is. I know I started there. From another point. So, but once we come to that realization that we're suffering so much, yes, how people come to Krishna consciousness, how people come to spirituality. So many of us have come because we were suffering. We realized that we were suffering. We didn't try to intoxicate ourselves by intoxicants or television or sex or so many things that people utilize to forget about the reality. You reach a point in your life where you're very, very sober and you realize I'm suffering like anything. How can I come to a higher platform? And what is a higher platform? Spiritual life. What is spiritual life? That's what's being referred to here. So Srila Prabhupada came onto the scene. If someone likes Srila Prabhupada, I can't say like Srila Prabhupada. My feelings and respect for Srila Prabhupada are unique. I can't see anyone like Srila Prabhupada. The one is hankering like anything for to meet somebody that can help them spiritually, because it's so difficult to understand how to advance spiritually. It's such a difficult thing. Because there are so many aspects of spiritual life that lie beyond their perception, because we're talking about the spiritual realm. We're so much absorbed in the material realm. Many people don't even think a spiritual realm exists. They have so little faith that they don't even want to think about it. So when we come in contact with Srila Prabhupada and start engaging in the process, those of us who have done that become so inspired. Wanting to formalize your commitment as a disciple. So I'm representing Srila Prabhupada, the spiritual master of our movement is Srila Prabhupada. He's called the Siksha Guru for all of the members of it. He's the one who guides us and gives instructions. And his representatives who are giving initiation, they're giving initiation because they're following Srila Prabhupada. And those who are following Srila Prabhupada have some understanding, and they're following means by which they can get more understanding. Life actually is. And we take it as our duty to give those who are coming after us what Srila Prabhupada has given us. So in other words, we're giving them Srila Prabhupada. And so this initiation that we're doing today, I'm initiating Bhakti and Sharon on behalf of my spiritual master, who's given me this responsibility, the blessings of the devotees, to carry on the disciplic succession from Srila Prabhupada and giving his blessings to those who are initiated Srila Prabhupada's. And Srila Prabhupada had many disciples, and there are many disciples of Srila Prabhupada for the initiation. The initiation means formally accepting vows and that commitment to follow Srila Prabhupada's instructions, participate in his movement in a responsible way. And it indicates that you've demonstrated your sincerity to follow principles that are laid down. And you've demonstrated your sincerity to act within Srila Prabhupada's movement in a harmonious way to help others. And you've come to the point where you're willing to commit yourself to continue doing that and to increase your absorption in doing that. Not just for some time, but eternally. These are eternal vows. It's kind of the relationship with the spiritual masters in one form. So I'm very happy to have this opportunity. I'm very fortunate to have this opportunity to represent you in this way. So at this time, if you could give me a life insurance, please. Happy Chair. Ready? You can come up here base to Prabhupada with your right shoulder closest, left shoulder closest to shoulder.
Left.
So, can you please explain what are the four regulating principles? And how many rounds do you vow to chant every day? In Argentina, we did initiation. Some devotees were saying 16 good rounds. Sometimes Brahma would say that 16 good rounds. And one devotee said, minimum 16 good rounds. That was pretty ambitious. We can try to chant good rounds. 16 good rounds. So your name is the Gopi name is. Krishna Devi is a wonderful servant, eternal servant. She's making so many tasteful arrangements for Radha and Krishna's pastime. She's always busy making tasteful arrangements. And Tulsi Devi is a manifestation. So Krishna Devi is a marvelous person, and we can study with her.
Makes all arrangements for Krishna.
That's
Makes all arrangements for Krishna.
what she does.
From the Gopi Devdasi ki!
Okay, so now, so now if you can take your place.
Hare Krishna,
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
It always happens. Whenever I give a lecture, immediately after the lecture, I always think of all the things I should have said but I didn't say. And of course, all the things that I did say that I should have said, but I can't take that back. But since we're in a little bit of an informal atmosphere, I was thinking I wanted to say something, but I didn't say it. And I think it's important to say. Because I spoke generally about when one demonstrates one's sincerity, etc. But I wanted to say specifically that I've never heard anything negative spoken by anyone about Bhakti, about Vrinda Gopi. She's always struggled. Sometimes she had to struggle to chant her rounds because of all her responsibilities, all the service and college, etc. And she's always very, very, very sincere to do as much as she possibly could to complete her vows that she had taken informally, and also to serve the devotees. So cooperative and taking initiative, accepting responsibility. So I was always so happy to hear from her personally how she was serving, also from all the other devotees how nicely she was doing. So I feel very, very happy to be able to help her with this particular regular initiation.
Okay. Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Rama, Rama Rama. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Om Vaishnavagavaya Ikvaha Ikvaha Ihatishta Ihatishta Iha Sanidehi Iha Sanidehi. We are doing actually invoking the divine presence now in the element of the fire. And that's the second to the closing procedures. See. All fire named Vaishnava, Agni, kindly be present here. Ihatishta, Ihatishta, kindly stay with us. Ihasanidehi, Ihasanidehi, please be near to us. Ihasanirudhaisva, Ihasanidurdaisva, please remain for worship. Ihasanmukho bhava, Ihasanmukho bhava, please face us. Hare Krishna. We're going to be offering our oblations to the fire Mahajaki, our divine representation that's here, 5 more, and we'll need your participation. Brinda. Forgot? Brinda Gopi. Brinda Gopi Devi Dasi. Don't worry, just sit in. We'll sit in. So I'll be chanting some mantras and offer the ghee oblations to the Agni, divine presence of that it's here in fire. And on Swaha, as I pour the ghee, you will also be trying your grains that are in front of you. Banana is there for the final oblation that you're waiting for at the very end. Okay, so we'll go through some mantras. Okay, so you're going to be using the this index finger. It won't be used. You'll be using your tongue and just like that, just like you're holding your beat. You'll be trying responding on my swaha. You'll be responding swaha. Yeah. Everybody. What's that? Yeah. Under. Not drawing, but yeah, as an offering. Yes. Thank you. I also want to recognize the presence of other Prabhupada disciples here. Adanias Prabhu, Mahabodhi Prabhu, Raghava Chaitanya Prabhu, Rohini Sutta Prabhu. These are all Prabhupada disciples here, so please kindly extend your blessings that you're already doing it, but please continue as our new initiates journeys through her spiritual journey. Right. Om Jnana Timirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshur Unmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Swaha. As I say Swaha, you can also join in Swaha 3 times. Swaha. You try Swaha. Sri Chaitanya Manobishtam Sthapitamena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Karamayam Darati Swapadantikam Swaha. Much louder, please. Swaha. Swaha. Vande Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Utaparakamam Shri Gurum Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunatanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sakitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padam Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakanvitam Scha Swaha 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 Hey Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute. Swaha 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 Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanusute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Swaha 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 Panchakalpatarubhashta Vipasindubhya eva cha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Swaha 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 Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Krishnaya Bhutale Shrimate Gunagrahi Goswami Nityanamine Swaha 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 Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Krishnaya Bhutale Shrimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Nityanamine Swaha 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 Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Swaha 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 Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Krishnaya Bhutale Shrimate Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Iti Namine Swaha 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 Nama Shri Varshabhanavi Devi Daitaya Kripabdaye Krishna Sambhara Vijnana Daine Prabhave Namaha Swaha 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 Madhurya Jvala Premadya Shri Rupanuga Bhaktida Shri Gaura Karuna Shakti Vigrahaya Namostute Swaha 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 Namaste Gauravani Shri Murtaye Dinakarine Rupanuga Virudhatpa Siddhanta Santaharine Swaha 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 Namagora Kishoraya Sakshadvairagyamurtaye Vikralambara Sambhode Padambujaya Te Namaha Swaha 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 Namo Bhakti Vinodaya Sachitananda Namine Ora Shakti Swarupaya Rupanuga Varayate Swaha 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 Sarvasvam Nirdeshta Sadhana Priya Vaishnava Sarvabhoma Shri Jagannathaya Te Namaha Swaha Swaha Panchakalpatarubhashta Kripasindhubhya eva cha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Swaha 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 Namo Mahavaranaya Krishna Prema Pradayate Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Namne Gore Tishe Namaha Swaha Swaha Panchatattvamakam Krishnam Bhaktarupa Swarupakam Bhaktavatar Bhaktakyam Namami Bhakta Shaktikam Swaha 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 Jayatam Surato Pangor Mamamanda Mate Gati Matsarvasya Padam Bhojo Radha Madana Mohano Swaha 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 Nitya Kalpadrumado Srimadatnagara Simhasanasto Shri Shija Govinda Devo Prishtavipi Sevyamano Smarami Swaha 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 Grains? Do you have enough grains? There's more. You can give her more grains. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Swaha 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 Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Swaha 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 Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Swaha 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 Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Swaha 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 Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare Hare Swaha Hare Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama Hare Hare Swaha This point is your final ablution. Take the banana and stand up. Take the banana. You're gonna carefully place it. Don't burn yourself. Place it, and don't also throw it. You carefully place it in the middle of the fire. Reciting the mantra that's the offering mantra. Namo Brahmane Devaya Go Brahmane Pitaya. Yes. Namo Brahmanya Devaya Gu Brahmana Hitaya Cha Jagatithaya Krishnaya Govindaya Namo Namaha. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. We like to thank Swami Pranam for extending his kindness and compassion towards Vrinda Gopi Devi Dasi. And to all of you for blessing her. And to give the kirtan.